Uh-oh.
Yes, boy!
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Fake. We can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast, this time back on American soil. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Asante, and we are back here once again to review tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. Obviously,
beforehand, one moment, gotta compliment you. You killed it on that collision.
Thank you.
Killed it on the Grand Slam Australia coverage. You were live at like 2 a.m. Good on you, man.
You know, it was up
Good on you. Great.
For another 4 hours after that, so it wasn't like it was that hard.
I'm saying great coverage, great show. You did awesome.
Thank you very much. A lot of people in the comments that night, which was surprising considering it was late on a Saturday, early on a Sunday, depending on how you're looking. But a lot of people helped carry me along. I know it showed up towards the end there, and I know he's in the chat now, so I want to say hi to him. Maria was in the comments. GCN was in the comments. So we had quite a few of the regulars, and they definitely helped me out. It was a lot of fun, and that was a great show. And obviously, this Dynamite is following up off of a lot of momentum in the build to Grand Slam Australia and following that actual episode. So let's get into the show tonight. And we start at the top of the show where we had the face-off between Hangman Adam Page and MJF. Now, as the two men were entering on commentary, it was described that very heavy fines and or suspensions would be levied were these two men to make any physical contact. And we saw that there was security already surrounding the ring before the two came out. After they both entered the ring, MJF decided to start the proceedings by bringing up the beginning of AEW and the Casino Battle Royal at the original Double or Nothing, saying he had that match won, but Hangman cheap-shotted him and then proceeded to screw him out of the win, forcing him to then scratch and crawl his way to the top. And he did so by beating some of the biggest names in wrestling, including beating Hangman for his first Dynamite Diamond ring. MJF then runs down all of his accolades, culminating with his longest reigning AEW World Championship reign. And then he says the reason he won all these things is because his name is Maxwell Jacob Freeman. He's better than you know it. Heyman just stares at me. He's like, why are you telling me this? I know who you are. And then he said that MJF sounded angry listing all of those accomplishments, maybe because there's something he hasn't been able to win from them, indicating towards the fan. MJF quickly snaps back, saying he doesn't need anything from them and questions why they're the ones who should decide that Hangman is the main character of AEW and why they are the ones to decide who is morally redeemable within wrestling. He then runs down some of the fucked up shit Page has done over his career, especially the last year or so, culminating obviously in Page burning down another man's house. And the crowd continues to cheer for all of these things that MJF lists, cheering the most for burning down Swerve's house. And they also, MJF also then complains that they're constantly saying Hangman did nothing wrong. Max then asked Page if he still loves himself after doing all of these things, including ending the career of his mentor, Christopher Daniels, who MJF calls a talentless jobber hack. This sets Hangman off with Page saying that Daniels is 10 times the wrestler MJF will ever be, and that he would give his spine if it meant Daniels could get back into the ring again. He then says that Daniels wrestled in almost every company in the world, leaving a piece of himself in almost all of them to pave the way for people like them, and he went out like a warrior, just like he believes he would have wanted to. Page then asks, hey, Maria, what's going on? Page then asks if MJF's career ended tonight, would people see him like Daniels or an opportunistic coward who took every shortcut? And then he says the reason he thinks that people cheer him is because he knows the difference between right and wrong and hasn't lied to the people about it. And for every problem he has faced it head on. Meanwhile, Max has spent 5 years cheating and scheming his way to the top, telling everyone that Max is wondering to himself if that's actually true. because it is not, and deep down, MJF knows it. Max tries to laugh this off, calling Paige a child for complaining about him cheating, saying the history books don't care about how you get to the top. But meanwhile, it was Paige who was propped up by the powers that be since the start of the company, while all Max needed was a scarf and a mic. Hangman then gets Max says he's better than Paige. He talks better than Paige. He walks better than Paige. He is better than him in every aspect, and asks for one thing that Hangman does better than him. Hangman then gets nose to nose with MJF and says he's real before he drops the mic. MJF then responds that he doesn't care if Hangman is the main character. He's more than willing to be the bad guy, and drops his mic. And then the two jaw jack for a bit before seemingly agree to duke it out despite all the looming fines and suspensions. They take off their jackets and square up, but then MJF decides better of it, and he goes to leave. But before he does, he turns back around and spits right in Hangman's face, leaving a big old loogie hanging off of Hangman's eyebrow, which was just nasty looking. And then Paige again snaps, going after MJF, but security quickly jumps into the ring and is able to keep Hangman from going after him as MJF heads up the ramp. As Max goes to the back, Hangman decides to take his frustrations out on the security, taking him out one by one before singling one poor motherfucker out and beating him down into the corner until Christopher Daniels comes out and pulls Hangman off of this poor kid. CD says that this is the guy that he was fighting for a few weeks ago, and that Daniels knows who Hangman is, and Hangman knows who he is, and he shouldn't let MJF affect that. And then later in the show, MJF first Hangman Adam Page is made official for Revolution. So, James, I know that was a lot, but we were talking about this beforehand, and as Danny says, this was a dope episode of Dynamite, and it was. But I focused a lot of this classic excellent promo, as Maria says, because I think this was probably the best thing that happened on the show. And there was, I know you told me to focus on the main things, but there was so much passion and emotion and really like deep cutting barbs from both of these men, getting at the soul of each other, that I thought it important to really try to dive into it in its entirety, because these guys really call each other out on this one. And it ended up being a great promo.
We were talking about it before, and I said I think this was the segment of the night. This was the best bit of the night. So we're starting the show off just on absolute fire. I saw a great tweet that if producer boy could pull up right now, that'd be great. Where this was some of the best work in MJF's career in years, while this is just another Wednesday for Hangman. And I think that's very true. And that's not to bury MJF and everything he's done in the last few years, but like Hangman has just ascended to another level, in my opinion. MJF kind of said in that promo, it's like, I could do everything better than you. I'm a better wrestler. I'm better looking. I'm a better promo. Everything. I look better. What can you do better? And Hangman's right. It's like, I'm real. And the reality with that is we've been getting this authentic Hangman for so long that he doesn't have to boost it up. He doesn't have to make a show of it. Everything he does has so much to it that it's just fantastic, as opposed to MJF, who we've seen we've talked about it week in, week out, that low-hanging fruit. So, yeah, man, I'm all for this. Maria, I agree with you. Both men made great points. This narrative, Hangman did nothing wrong, is wrong in my opinion. It just is. I love Hanger, but my lower third is genuine for me. We've got the good guy cowboy back, finally. He lost his way. Sure, you could argue everything he did against Swerve was justified. Thank you. Was justified. But how many people had to suffer and fall along the way? Or even afterwards? Evil Uno, Christopher Daniels, so many people suffered the wrath of Hangman. So MJF's got a point that Hangman should be held responsible for the things he's done. the way MJF always is. But Hangman's also right that, one, the Christopher Daniels stuff was fantastic. And two, every barb he laid out at MJF, there was truth to it too. I thought this was fantastic. I love that the history between these two young guys has been brought up, the diamond ring, everything. And I'm hoping that these two guys, we've talked about it, the 4 pillars of AEW. Those pillars needed to be built on a foundation. And personally, I think Hangman and I think MJF are part of that foundation of what made AEW so special in those early days.
Well, but Hangman's a pillar. He's both.
Hangman's not a pillar.
Oh, sorry. MJF is a pillar.
MJF is a pillar, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Hangman's definitely part of that foundation. I would agree. It would have been, I think, the Elite as a whole, including Cody, and then I guess maybe like SCU and some other people.
Yeah, the Elite, the Cody, SCU, Lucha Bros. I'd say those people were Jericho.
Yeah, Jericho.
They were the foundation, and Mox. But amazing stuff. I cannot wait for this match at Revolution. Their only one-on-one match, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't recall another one.
So it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. Just great emotional stuff, and it cannot be understated or overstated. It cannot be stated enough that the bit with him and Daniels was just amazing. Somebody grabbed him and he almost swung, but this is a Hangman who's starting to control himself again. He doesn't have the blind rage and the blind fury that he's had for so long, and he held himself against Daniels. And I love that he gave Daniels his flowers in that promo with MJF, because he's gone. Christopher Daniels is retired, and we're not going to get a big retirement ceremony. So them honoring him in this way, I appreciate it.
His retirement ceremony was getting the absolute piss beat out of him by Hangman.
Exactly.
And hey, look, I think if you're going to go out like that, like the fact that they're using it to propel this story is such an awesome way to do it. So shout out to CD for doing that. I think your point about Hangman was right versus justified is a very interesting conversation about nuance, but I do think it does lend itself to an interesting conversation, because you're right, what he did was wrong. So it's quite like, if you do wrong things for the right reasons, does that make you right? It maybe make you justified, but doesn't mean it is the right thing. And I think you've seen that a lot recently with a lot of heel characters, both here in AEW and the WWE, because you could look at a guy like Drew McIntyre, who a lot of people say is consistently right. You can look at a guy like Kevin Owens, who a lot of people say is consistently right. And I think you can say all 3 men have been justified because of previous things. But would you consider any of the things they have done or are currently doing in the right? I think that's the question. And maybe it's just, the stupidity of the internet that has then led us down this philosophical discussion in terms of just, everybody having the blanket describe one thing and just saying they're right, because I would agree. What Hangman did was not right. Burning down a man's house is not right. But the Swerve did break into his house and threatened his child. So it makes for such an interesting and complex character that MJF is able to go at him, and Hangman can still see himself maybe right, but definitely justified. And
great question from I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please keep going.
Okay. I was just trying to find a tail end to my point there, but I never found it. So let's go to the question here.
It's okay, Michael Scott.
Hangman did put Swerve back on the right path, yes or no?
I think that's a fascinating question, because they certainly flipped like sides. Like Swerve became the babyface as things progressed. Hangman became the heel. in a way that never narratively made sense. It just happened because how the crowd was reacting to them. Very Austin Bret Hart, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the escalation of actions. Swerve did a bad thing first, but then he started, I think, focusing more on what was going on in the ring, whereas Hangman couldn't let that go and escalated outside of the ring, and then eventually that led to all of their very violent but very good matches, including drinking somebody's blood, which MJF brought up about Hangman doing.
So to answer its question, I don't necessarily think he put Swerve on the right path. I think Swerve has been incredibly consistent in who he is. He fights for what he thinks is right. And he doesn't really have a right or wrong in how he's going to achieve those things. In my opinion, he more or less treats all of his opponents the same. And look at this feud with Ricochet. He definitely took a lot of cheap shots. Is he invading his house? No. But he drove Ricochet to the edge of sanity in a lot of ways. He full on Degrassi'd this kid. So I don't know that Hangman put Swerve on the right path, but Swerve definitely affected Hangman, and Swerve is just cool. I think that's the honest answer. I think Swerve is just cool.
That's the other thing, too. I think no matter whether he's face or heel, Swerve really isn't going to change his character too much.
Yeah.
He's still doing the same things he was doing against Hangman. Granted, he hasn't broken to his house yet, or, like he did with Hangman. Or, let's not forget, like he did with Darby Allin and Nick Wayne. He bloodied a 17-year-old. But
look who that 17-year-old is. That's
true. Or he ended up being. Maybe Swerve accidentally gave him brain damage, and here we are. But it's all Swerve's fault. But I do think it really is going to end up depending on who he's going against. Because, funny enough, even though Swerve was bullying Ricochet, I don't even think so much bullied him as exposed him. And Ricochet then took exception to that exposure and became this person who is very clearly the heel in this feud. So even if Swerve might do some heelish things, it's just the way his character is always going to be. And depending against whom he is facing off, you will then basically get whether or not Swerve is face or heel. So it really just depends on who he's against.
Yep.
But yeah, as for this promo, I am so hyped for this match now.
Oh yeah, no, it is the match to watch for Revolution, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Revolution looks like a really good card. It does, but this is the match.
Yeah, I'm very curious, and we'll talk about it towards the end of the show. What ends up happening with this international championship match? Because I am intrigued.
Yeah, no, we'll talk. I'm a little frustrated that we'll talk. We'll get there.
Yeah. Just saying Ricochet becoming a top heel is hard to believe, but true. And yeah, I wouldn't have expected it as he came into the company, but he's really created a great character for himself here. And I'm very much enjoying it. I think I've been saying that quite a bit recently, but it's just because I'm so not only surprised, but thrilled, because I think we were very bored of the happy-go-lucky Ricochet who was just good in the ring that we had seen for the last however many years.
Yeah.
One last point on this promo before we move on, because you briefly touched upon it, James, with MJF not taking the low-hanging fruit. And this is something that started last week when Hangman called him out on it, and obviously continued into this week where Hangman went for the jugular again.
Yeah.
And these are MJF went for the jugular again. Hangman did too, but MJF did. And these are the type of promos that make MJF the superstar he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when he is making those funny jokes and, going after the low-hanging fruit, yeah, it's cool, but because it was all he was doing, I feel like for so long, we kind of got sick of it. And this is the MJF that we like hating, because this is the guy who is very cerebral on the microphone. And excuse me, it makes him it makes him a good character, and it helps him build other people's characters by going after them and making them questioning themselves like this. And I think he would like what Hangman said was great, and we talked about it. But I think we got to give the props to MJF here too, because this was two sides of a very good coin in this promo.
No, I completely agree. Feuds where everybody gets elevated are the best, and this feels like one of them.
Yeah. So I'm very, very excited. Hopefully we continue to get some good build in the next few weeks before we hit Revolution. Right. Let's keep things rolling here. After this, we had a recap of Grand Slam Australia. I didn't put a thing in here for James. Did you want to say anything about Grand Slam?
It was a great show. I was able to catch up on it after the fact. Really enjoyed it. That tag match was bonkers good.
How about that super finisher?
Incredible. Like almost to the point of I almost never want to see it again because of how incredible it was.
I knew you were gonna love it. Like you were texting me, you were like, "How was the show?" And I was like, "It was great. I'm gonna go live soon." And I was like, "You're like, don't spoil it." I was like, "I won't. You're just gonna love the finish of the tag match." And I absolutely knew you were going to. So yeah, if you guys haven't caught that, I highly recommend you go back and watch it. It was awesome. Again, Tony Khan, please give me the live cut. Please. I want to see that thing in its entirety, no commercials. It was probably so amazing. And shout out again to the crowd for singing Adam Copeland's theme. It was really cool.
Yeah.
After that, we went to a quick backstage interview with the Undisputed Kingdom. Renee asked Roddy about his match with Orin tonight, and he just gave some, regular platitudes about winning and going on to become the international champion. And then Renee asked Kyle about his conflict of interest, considering Orange in the conglomeration. And Kyle says the conglomeration is less of a stable and more of a lifestyle. They like to hang out and conglomerate, but they don't always have to like do run-ins and hang out like for wrestling and stuff. So while Orange is still his boy, Roddy is going to have to break his back tonight. And then Cole jumps in to say, no matter who is friends with whom, Roddy is going to become international championship, and that's undisputed, blah, 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 blah. After this, we had our first match of the evening, which saw the Opps with having their first match under their new name. That's Samoa Joe, Katsuyori Shibata, and Hook face off against the Patriarchy's Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, and Kip Sabian. The Opps got a new entrance. It was pretty, and some new music. It was pretty fucking cool. There's a lot of fire. They just look badass. The music was awesome.
Yep.
Really liked it. As we jump towards the end of this match, after Shibata took out Kip on the outside, and Joe took out Christian with a tope suicida, we had Hook and Nick Wayne left one-on-one. Wayne rolled up Hook and crossed his legs for the pin attempt, grabbing the bottom rope for leverage, but Hook was still able to kick out of all of that. Wayne then went up top and attempted to hit a Wayne's World, but Hook countered it by catching him into a Red Rum. Sabian then tried to break it up, but Shibata caught him with a sleeper hold on the outside. And then Christian tried to slide into the ring, but Joe beat him there. So Christian decided that discretion was a better part of valor and slithered back out of the ring with the help of Mother Wayne to save himself. Eventually, Wayne was forced to tap out, and the Opps picked up the win in their first match together as a named group. So, James, this was good. I mean, it wasn't, anything groundbreaking, but the Opps looked really strong here. They had some great chemistry in the ring, I thought. I really enjoyed Christian. I don't think he was legally tagged in this entire match. And he took very little punishment. I think he took 3 moves and maybe 4. And I think it was Hook gave him a suplex and then knocked him out of the ring. And then Joe knocked him out of the ring and hit him with the tope suicida. And I'm pretty sure that was it. The rest of it was taken by Wayne and Sabian. So I found that dynamic really funny. But I thought this was just a strong win to open up the new era of the Opps. And it hates the name, love the group. I love the name. I think it's great. But again, I think this is a culture thing.
It and I are just old souls, and we're in agreement on this. I will say, seeing it on the Titantron, seeing like the merch and everything, I've warmed up to it.
I'm telling you, they're gonna make it cool. They're gonna make you like it.
Whatever. I'm hip. I'm cool.
Hello, fellow kids.
I'm with it. But
You accidentally just said his 3 lines in a row. Like, I don't even think you intentionally meant to do Dr. Evil, and you did.
I really did. Oh man. Oh, okay. I swear that was unintentional, but you made it perfect.
You like literally verbatim quoted Austin Powers there.
Oh God. Anyway.
Top drawer, Kensington.
My hope is not because this has been bad, because it hasn't been bad. My hope is that this is over. That this match was the culmination. And the only reason I say that is because I think both groups are better served elsewhere. Again, none of this was bad. The match was good. The feud has been fun because everything Joe does, he makes fun. He makes enjoyable. But I personally am all in on the Opps being the guys to take the trios titles off of the Death Riders. I think they're a believable team to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think I've got a weird feeling Christian is winning that title soon. I'm just saying, look, the Death Riders beating Cope and Pac at Grand Slam feels like the odds are shifting that there's an actual possible chance Cope is winning the world title off of Mox.
Law of opposite momentum. I brought it up on Saturday. Quoted you.
Thank you. I think there's I'm not saying it's definitely happening, but there is way more of a likelihood of it happening than there was before Saturday. And I don't think there's a world where Cope needs to be world champion for a long period of time. So if you have Christian cash in on him exactly the same way, I think it's fine.
I mean, so first of all, I agree with you that I hope this is over between these two teams. It feels like Hook has been fighting Christian forever. And I think that I think this needs to be done.
Yes.
I do think this needs to be done. Hopefully, if it is, the Opps do not pivot to go back after Chris Jericho anytime soon. He's currently busy, and I hope he stays that way. I do not need a culmination of that feud. I would like to just see Joe murder him and backstage, and then that could be the end of it. That's Jericho's comeuppance. But I agree with you that hopefully within the near future, they do get it to go after and win the trio championships. Because you're right. I think this is the most believable group to do it.
Yeah.
Because these are just 3 badasses.
Yeah.
And they match up well with the Death Riders because you have old school Ring of Honor star. You have
exactly.
You have awesome foreign wrestler, and you got a young kid who's on the come up.
Yep. Matches perfectly.
Perfect matchup. So hopefully that's there. As for Christian Cage, yeah, that contract is looming, and it is scaring me because I think what you said might be true. We might end up getting Copeland wins the title. Maybe the Death Riders beat the fuck out of him after, and then Christian cashes in and wins. Well, or however we get to the Christian cash in. But I just don't need another Copeland and Christian feud.
I agree. I think there's a way to do it. I do. I think there's a way to do it where you could have Christian cash in and Cope doesn't immediately go after Christian. I really do think there's a way you could book it. Maybe somebody else attacks Cope and that's what lets Christian have the opportunity to do it. I don't know. But,
Jay White. No. I said Jay White.
Maybe, honestly, because how long could Jay keep doing this? So he's resentful that the old guy came in and took his spot when Jay never had a one-on-one match against Mox. I think there's a way you can do it. So all that said, there's a bigger story here with the Opps, and that's when is Hook going to earn his towel? I don't know if you've seen this. A lot of people are invested. Shibata has a towel. Joe has a towel. Obviously, Taz had a towel. When is Hook going to earn his towel?
And will it be orange?
Yeah, it should be. So I think winning the trios title is when he earns his towel.
Especially if he's the one who ends up winning them. Like if he gets Wheeler in the Red Room and they win the titles that way. Yeah, that works. I like this.
Yep.
I don't know how I haven't seen this. I really like this. Also, now I'm waiting for the Suzuki team-up.
Yes. Yes.
Everybody with a towel needs to hang out with the Opps. It's
I'm
just
not
their
going to
thing.
complain with this. I'm here for it.
Who else is on that list?
Towel people. I guess Maskless Kane.
Okay.
You don't remember that? He used to wear like the head towel.
I don't even know who that is.
Kane, maskless. Kane.
Maskless Kane.
Yeah.
You got a little garbled up there. And
my bad.
I thought you said maskless, and I was like, who the fuck is that?
My bad.
I was like, what in the name of Greek mythology is maskless? Patroclus' third cousin, twice removed.
Did Solo have a towel for a little bit, or am I making that up?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think he did.
Regardless.
Yeah, wrong company.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm really excited for the Opps. Hopefully, Joe doesn't have to go film anytime soon. I think season 2 is not coming out for a little while. The trailer just dropped for why can't I think of the name of it? It's Anthony Mackie, Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully that doesn't happen for a while. They don't have to write them off for a bit, and we can get a good run out of these guys, which I think we will.
Yep.
Okay, James, you know what wants to know where your cat is?
She is on my bed here in the office. So she is comfy. She is cozy. She looks like she's going to jump over here at any moment. So,
yeah, she'll probably climb on your bad shoulder again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maria also agrees that the Opps are going to win the Trio Championships. And I hope they do soon. I don't know if they're going to win at Revolution, but maybe the next pay-per-view after that.
Yeah.
Also, quick side note, I don't remember where it happened, but Phoenix got announced that they were having Double or Nothing. So good for them. And shout out to Phoenix crowd tonight. They were really good. I think that's why they got the show, because they were really hot tonight. They were really hot last time they were in Phoenix. And Tony said, like, this was a good crowd. We should try to have a pay-per-view here. So
WrestleMania 26, Phoenix. And it was the first time I think I ever saw Kenny Omega live against Kevin Steen.
Was that in State Farm, where the Cardinals play?
I would have to double check. That was for Ring of Honor, so that would be a smaller arena.
Oh, I meant WrestleMania.
Yeah, no. I'll find out.
Yeah, it was probably there. Also, James, really quick before you Google that, what'd you think of the setup tonight? It was very reminiscent.
I loved it. I am a sucker for the hard cam being opposite the ramp. I love that personally. One, I feel like when you have the hard cam be on one side, like to the left, there's always a side of the arena that kind of gets screwed, that you only see like the back of somebody for like promos, and like the wrestling is geared towards the TV side. When you have like one of the sides cut off because of the entranceway and the hard cam is pointed towards it, all three sides get a good view, in my opinion. So big fan of how they set it up.
Yeah, this was in a theater tonight, and very reminiscent of Daly's Place back before, when they started letting fans in after the pandemic. So yeah, I thought this was a cool angle. I really like it, and it brought me back to a different time.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep things rolling here. After that match, we had a backstage interview with Chris Jericho. Renee asked Jericho about failing to collect the bounty on and then being pinned by Bandito at Global Wars Australia.
With smirk, by the way. She was definitely giggling a little bit throughout this.
She was, and Jericho got pissed at her for it, saying that he could have her removed from the building and that nobody would have a job here without him. And then he goes on to say that nobody treats him with any respect despite that. Jericho then reminds everybody he's a nighttime world champion. He's one of the people that other people asked to take pictures with while they hand Bandito the camera to take it. He then finishes by saying that he doesn't care about the bounty and grants Bandito an opportunity to win the Ring of Honor World Championship on Collision, and then that match got made official after the show. So all I'm going to say is Jericho was a dick to Renee, so I imagine he's on your list.
I'll be honest with you. Renee's got to answer for the crimes of her husband a little bit, so I'm okay with this. But in all seriousness, you don't poke the bear and then expect not to get swiped at. So yeah, I'm not thrilled, but at the same time, Renee, I hope you learned a lesson with that one.
I guess a little bit.
You giggle at a heel making fun of their losses. The heel's gonna swipe at you. It's just like that's just common sense.
That is true. That's true. Sticking with the learning tree, though, after this, we went to the street fight between Powerhouse Hobbs and Big Bill. This was a big meaty men slap and meat street fight. It was a lot of fun. Hobbs got bloodied early in the match when Bill hit him with a pipe wrench. Brian Keith joined the fray during commercial, but Hobbs took him out by punching a chair out of his hands and then choke slamming Keith through a table. Bill then got bloodied when Hobbs hit him with his own backpack full of bricks, which is what Bill used to take out Hobbs for a few weeks back in their, I guess, was it the parking lot brawl at Daly's place? So they've had two Extreme Rules fights in the matter of a month, which is pretty awesome.
I think this only happened because of how good the first one was.
Yeah, because it was really good.
Yeah.
But like I said, that bloodied Bill and also left him really loopy because Hobbs was then able to bring Bill over to these steel steps that Bill and Keith had set up on the stage, bounce Bill's head off of it a few times, bring him up the steps, and choke slam him off of the stage through a barbed wire wrapped table. Bill then got caught up in the barbed wire and was unable to answer Aubrey Edwards' 10 count, and Hobbs picked up the win. James, I didn't know that's how street fights ended in AEW.
I didn't either. It's fine, but
I think sometimes they just decide whatever rules fit best for the end of the match.
I think it's a legal thing. I think maybe there's ownership of what street fights are and how they're contested in certain companies. So maybe that's why. That's also just pure speculation. It's why certain matches can't be called the same thing. Triple Threat and Fatal 4-Way are owned by WWE. I know. Yeah, that's why AEW doesn't have them. They have 4-ways and 3-way matches.
Yeah,
which just sounds so much so sexual. But
Mox got in trouble because when he challenged Hangman White and whoever the fourth person is I'm blanking on to that 4-way match. Yeah, Orange. He called it a fatal 4-way during his promo out of habit.
Yeah. I don't blame him. It's part of the wrestling vernacular.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but all that said, I thought this match was really good. I think it lacked a little bit of the flair of the first one just because, that was the explosive parking lot brawl match that they had. This was good. This was brutal. The blood really helped. See, this is an example of blood actually really helping in a matchup, and I thought it really did help. Small little detail that I loved, and it's probably just me. So these men are just pounding away at each other, dropping each other, and they're bringing it all to each other. The finish of the match came when Powerhouse hits a super kick to the ribs. He hits a push kick.
Yeah.
To the midsection. And commentary called out, that's not something you typically see from Hobbs. And I love that. I love that he needed to do something a little bit different to get the upper hand to lead to that finish where he put Bill through the tables at ringside. Small detail. It really is. But I loved it. And I love that commentary picked up on it. So I think both men looked great coming out of this. I think people are finally Australia apparently loved Big Bill.
Okay, he's really over with international crowds.
He really is. Well, I think the thing is, and I'm being 100% serious, it's the same reason Andre got, and I'm not comparing the two, but it's the same reason Andre got so over back in the day. He was a special attraction that you didn't see a lot of. Bill is a gigantic man. I'm assuming whatever indies these foreign companies have, you're not seeing 7-foot tall giants.
Can't teach it.
You can't. You really can't. So I think the spectacle of seeing a guy like Bill, who, granted, I've been an advocate of for a long time, and it's not just because of his size, it's because of how good I think he is. I think when you have a spectacle like Bill who could back it up with his ring work, you're going to appeal to even, like, not just the casual fans, but those people who are just so eager to watch wrestling live. So I'm all for it. I love that he got over, and he is over, not just internationally, but people like him here now. And I'm hoping that his loss will lead to a separation from the learning tree, and he could sort of go off and do his own thing. But yeah, fun matchup. I'm really excited for what Hobbs does next. And granted, it's a very crowded mid-card right now, so I don't know what he does next, but I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, same. I have said day one, I'm a day one Hobbs guy. And then especially when he turned heel, because I will say it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. He has the coolest snarl in all of wrestling. Yeah, don't even try. I can't do it. I'm not going to try to do it. He just looks so fucking cool when he does that. Yeah. So I hope he continues to do well. As for Bill, I think also part of it too is, his history. Like, he was one of the most over acts in the world when, he was part of Enzo and Cass. And I think despite the fact that he, went down from there with all of his, I almost said off the field issues, but yeah, that's basically what it is. And he was able to bounce back, recover, and now build himself back up. Yeah, people like rooting for him. Yeah. Maria says that he could be like a Sid Vicious 2.0 type of person.
Very possible.
Yeah.
Very possible.
I think that could be a good comparison. But I do think that the split from the learning tree is coming soon because Bill has failed yet again. And I think that despite the fact that Jericho keeps attempting these lessons, and Bill, I think, has learned a lot, he's going to end up splitting away in the near future.
Yeah.
Anyway, as Maria said, this was an awesome fight between two behemoth men. So, yeah, I have no complaints with this one. And I love Hobbs winning. So like you said, James, hopefully he can get something going in the mid-card because it is so crowded. As we say hello to Navarro. What's up, dude? Hope you're having fun with the shoes. I know you meant shows, but I am having fun with the shoes. It's got to be the shoes.
Navarro, I got to tell you, pal, you are missing out right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think AEW has been on fire these last several weeks. I know you spoke about it on Saturday with just the string of good shows that they've been delivering. If there is a time to go back and rewatch some of Dynamite, I'd say this is it. If there's a time to get back into it and start watching live again, I'd say this is it. And if you've got Max, it's a lot easier to go back and watch these episodes now. So highly, highly, highly recommend it. I'd say AEW creatively, not just match-wise, but story-wise, is in a boom period.
Yeah, no, they're on an absolute heater right now for, I think, about the last month or so, maybe the last 5 weeks. Maria agreeing with us that they're on an absolute roll. And I think if you can, Grand Slam on Saturday was absolutely awesome. The last few weeks were building to that, and it delivered Grand Slam. And then this week just continued their streak. So I'm very happy with AEW right now. Navarro says he's barely watching wrestling at the moment. He's just keeping up with AEW and WWE via Twitter. And it's a good way to do it. Yeah, and us, hopefully. I do. That's how I keep up with WWE. I do it with Square Circle and Twitter, and that's the best way to do it. It's saying matches and promos being very good in AEW right now, and they are.
Yep.
And speaking of which, let's get to another one. We got a backstage interview with the Murder Machine. Renee asked him about upstaging the Hurt Syndicate last week following the Syndicate's win in a tag team title match. And Cage says, damn right they did. They also wanted to tell the Syndicate something face-to-face tonight, but they're not here. So Archer says that he hears that they're going to be on Collision. So they'll see them there to let them know personally that they will be taking the AEW World Tag Team Championships. I guess we're going to get this at Revolution because if they didn't do it now, I don't think they're going to do it Wednesday. Hey, they could do it Wednesday because we got that Statlander Bayne match a lot faster than I thought. So,
and admittedly, we have what, 3 weeks until Revolution?
Yeah.
So there's some time.
Yeah, I mean, they could do it at Revolution. They could do it next week. We'll see. Yeah. But I don't think they'll do it the week after, is my point. If they get to the week after, at that point, just push the Revolution.
Yeah.
After this, we went back to the ring as we were introduced to the new 4-time AEW Women's World Champion, timeless Toni Storm. Just
Not
standing
worthy.
ovation.
We're not worthy.
I don't want to stand too high because I have pajama pants on.
Me too. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Also, if I stand, I get to a way different level height-wise than you do with the camera.
All right, that was unnecessary. Okay.
No, I'm just saying what would end up camera level is a lot different for me than what it is for you.
You just little broed me, bro.
No, I didn't. Speaking of packages, let's get into Tony's promo here.
What?
As Tony recounts facing Mariah on Saturday, saying she's proud of Mariah because she gave Tony the fight of her life before Tony beat her with her small package.
Phrasing.
They say the best things come in small packages.
Phrasing.
But Mariah should have worn protection because she railed Mariah with the biggest package there has ever been.
Are we not doing phrasing anymore?
Tony then says Mariah has been defeated, has been exiled, and has been compromised to a permanent end.
Thank you, John Cena.
Tony then gets in a cheap plug for her new movie before calling out all of the women in wrestling, including Kris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, and Wendy Bloody Richter, saying if any of them want to go face-to-face, tit-to-tit, or lip-to-lip, she is not hard to find. For God is a woman, and her name is timeless. This was
incredible.
It was so good, and it was made all the better by Taz just cracking up in the background of all of it, and it perfectly timing a "she's back" after the biggest package there has ever been line. But yeah, Tony came out firing on all cylinders with this one.
All right. I would like to address one thing first before I get into how great this promo was, which was phenomenal. Borderline promo of the decade so far. If you're upset that Tony won the title with the small package, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're
I saw
wrong.
the thing. I was going to bring this up too.
There's been a lot of discourse about Tony winning the title with the small package. And guess what? They've laid the groundwork for this for weeks prior. That all of her matches, she won with the small package.
As rookie Tony Storm, I might add.
I think she even did one as timeless, I think.
Yeah, you might be right.
Just one. But first of all, it protects Mariah. She didn't beat her. She got one over on her. That's fantastic. 2, storytelling. We saw that she had been perfecting it. And 3, if you're okay with Bryan Danielson being Mr. Small Package, but you're not okay with somebody else winning a title with it, you got to examine these things, right? On like a real personal, deep level. You have to figure out why. So take that for what you will. Going back to the promo, I've been, all joking aside, all silliness aside, I have been a little worried about Tony becoming a 4-time AEW Women's Champion. On a certain level, as much as the story made sense for her to take the title off Mariah, there is a level of redundancy with her having the title again. Now, granted, she is without a doubt the most overact in the women's division for AEW. She is without a doubt the one of the best in-ring and promo-wise. So sure, you put your title on your best, your top act, but you get to a point where sometimes it's too much. This promo made me recognize that I have nothing to worry about. Her title reign before was built around her being so good and it leading to betrayal by Mariah May. There was a larger story at play. Now it's free game. Anybody could win this title. And she named a few people, like you said, Wendy Bloody Richter.
God, I want her to come back.
You have no idea how much I want it. They should be the inaugural tag team champions, by the way. She's like 50-something. If that's
I know. She's 63.
Crazy. Kris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, and those are just the names she mentioned. There are so many women. Deonna Purrazzo, Taya Valkyrie, Sky Blue, Julia Hart, Queen Aminata. So many women could step up to the plate and get heated up to be in a position to take the title off of her. So the eventual, it's gonna happen. Mercedes versus Toni Storm.
Yeah,
So,
which sounds like an all-in match to me.
Yeah, I agree. Which is a tall order because you got to get the title off of Mercedes to then have her ready to challenge for the world title. That's a lot. But
ooh, bringing up Megan Bayne, as she just joined the company as a challenger for Tony.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I'm sorry. We've been in her presence. We know how amazing she is.
Bonk.
I regret nothing. But yeah, there are so many women here, and it's great, and I'm all for it. And it's funny. I had a friend who will be nameless who went to a recent AEW show, and then a week or two later went to the WWE show that was in town for them. And they brought their girlfriend, and it's their girlfriend's first time watching wrestling, especially live. And she said that she preferred WWE because that show had more women's wrestling, and the women were better represented than they were with AEW. And granted, the show they went to was the triple threat with Toni Storm, Statlander, and Willow that Toni won.
Yeah.
And I get that if you're watching for the first time, there's a lot of story there that you don't understand if you're only watching for the first time. But I bring this up as a way of saying women's wrestling is thriving right now. AEW, some of the best women I've ever seen wrestle. WWE's main roster overflowing with talent. NXT, probably the best women's division right now on the planet.
They're leading that show. The women.
Absolutely. The Knockouts are in a rebuilding phase, but at the same time, they've got heavy hitters in that division. So just a great time to be a fan of women's wrestling.
Yeah, and I usually, get after Tony Khan for not giving the women enough time, or just at least compressing all of their stuff into one spot. They were kind of more sprinkled throughout the show this evening. And I know we kind of got like back-to-back segments we had Toni Storm do this, and then Willow tried to come out. And then I guess it wasn't back-to-back. I'm skipping one. But then we had Mercedes and then Statlander. Like they were put together, but I guess one did kind of flow into the other, and they weren't all mushed together.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they were supposed to be, though, and then somebody ruined that. But we'll talk about that for a minute. But it just felt more spread out. It felt like they also got more time.
Yes.
And they weren't at the, 9:40 mark of the show.
Yeah.
At least here on the East Coast. I think Tony came out at about 9. I think Stat and Bayne went on at about 9:20. Or I think they were announced at 9:08, and then the Moxley thing happened. And then I think their match ended. Maybe they went on at like 9:30, 9:29, somewhere in there. So, like, they weren't in the time slot of death. So, I thought they did a better job representing the women tonight, which makes me very happy because I think, personally, this could be the best women's division in wrestling. I think it rivals NXT in terms of talent. They just don't get the time NXT does, which is insane because they have 4 hours of television they have to fill, and NXT only has 2. So, I think, and I know Tony Khan could do better for them and with them. But we'll see what ends up happening. As for Tony winning the title back, I am okay with it because I think narratively it worked. And I know, like you were saying, like obviously the title win narratively works. What happens after remains to be seen. And I think she's good enough where she will be able to be fine. And I think the talent pool is deep enough where she'll be fine. Because, like you mentioned, Deonna, she already faced Deonna. You could do it again, but I'm just saying, like, I know, like, and I think you could do it again. But my point being, like, she did face some of the heavy hitters in the division, but not all of them. So I think you could get some real matches out of her now with women like Statlander, with women like Willow, with women like Bayne, if depending on how they want to build her up. Because I can easily see Bayne taking the TBS title off of Mercedes.
Yeah.
To help that free Mercedes up for Tony at All In. Actually, now that I think about it, that makes a lot of sense. Book it, Tony.
The only reason I don't see it is heel versus heel. But they could do it.
Yeah, I was going to say Bayne isn't really anything right now, but
no, she's
healing it up.
She's absolutely a heel, and I'm fine with it. But she's absolutely a heel.
It just makes too much sense in my head. But I'm really excited to see what Tony ends up doing. Because if this promo is any indication, this title reign is going to be one of her best.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. Next up, we came back from commercial to what was supposed to be another backstage interview with poor Willow Nightingale. Actually, I skipped really quick. Gabe Kidd got announced for Collision, which is cool. Crazy
even.
Yep. Anyway, Renee tries to ask Willow a question, but Willow cuts her off, saying that she was upset that she was given just a minute of precious TV time last week before her husband, pointing at Renee, and Marina Shafir attacked her. Willow then begins to call out the Death Riders, but Marina once again attacks. And despite the fact that Willow tries to fight her off, Marina gets the upper hand using the briefcase, and she throws Willow into some looked like TV equipment, like rebar and stuff. And then Moxley comes over and commandeers a camera saying you got to earn your TV time. He then leaves the camera on his way out to the ring, and some more of the Death Riders join him as Wheeler and Claudio do. And Mox hops in the ring with a mic and says that because he is the champion, that is his mic, it's his camera, it's his ring, and everybody's sitting in his seats. And nobody comes into his house and lays down a challenge to him, and he doesn't care if they are the rated R superstar. You just don't do that. But Adam Copeland isn't here. He's probably still face down in the dirt in Australia after Moxley popped his head off of his shoulders with his own hands. So if Copeland shows his face at Revolution, Moxley says he's going to finish the job. The music of one Switchblade Jay White then hits and he comes out, but Pac basically just like stalks him from behind.
It was something.
It was almost a little terrifying. We hadn't seen Pac in a little while, so he's so ambiguous in his timing. Anyway, Pac just walks Switch down, and it leads to a position where Switch is caught between Pac and the rest of the Death Riders. However, You Think You Know Me hits, and everyone's like, oh, where's Copeland? And he appears from behind and starts attacking Moxley while Switchblade hits Pac with a Blade Runner onto the stage. Quick thing about the stage, pretty sure there was a dent in it for the rest of the night after the Big Bill match. I forgot to mention that they put a serious fucking dent into that plastic stage. Anyway, back in the ring, Copeland hits Wheeler with a spear, and then White and Copeland actually hit a Blade Runner spear combination onto Claudio, which is pretty cool, before Copeland goes underneath the ring to get Spike, and Moxley and Marina then bail out into the crowd to avoid it. Copeland follows them up, I'm pretty sure with Spike, which seems like a liability hazard. But Moxley gets away, so Copeland grabs a mic, and he says that this isn't Moxley's arena, seats, or people. They're his people. Copeland knows that Moxley is halfway back to whatever hotel, hostel, or bridge he lives under, but he knows Mox is going to see this and calls him a coward who needs his own little goon squad. So Copeland declares that he's going to start taking them out one by one, so that by Revolution, it'll be man versus man, and he's going to kick Moxley's ass. James, this was cool. Like, I mean, it wasn't anything spectacular. I'm so sad for Willow, but hopefully she actually gets involved.
Yeah.
You know, maybe she can help Copeland take out Marina. Maybe we'll actually see Marina in the ring. Is Wednesday okay?
Yeah, no, it's like it's the puppy. She's dying to get in here. I might have to let her in a second. But one second.
Okay, but yeah, either way, it was fine. I thought it was just, I don't want to say your typical Death Rider stuff. I do like the fact that Switchblade and Copeland have been actually kind of able to outsmart the Death Riders the last few weeks, at least here on Dynamite. You had them outsmart them on Dynamite last week, and then this week, and then and then this week, on Saturday, they were just unable to do so because despite the fact they've been able to outsmart them, it is pretty dumb to basically go into a 5-on-2 in a street fight. Or Brisbane ball, whatever you want to call it. So it's probably a little dumb from them. But either way, I thought you got an interesting promo out of Moxley here. And then I thought you got a pretty good rebuttal from Copeland. So let's see if James can fix his hair.
No, it was just that the headset was making everything tight. It was fine. I'm a little bummed. We went from this being a group that was taking out half the roster to being sent on the run by 2 guys. Now, granted, one of those guys had a bat or a 2x4 with nails in it. But at the same time, he shouldn't have even been able to get that. I don't care that they got the drop on them. It was a 2-on-4 situation.
Technically, it was really 2-on-5 if you include Marina, because she gets involved.
So I'm a little bummed that that's where, like, just bring out the ass boys, right?
Or where's FTR again?
Yeah, where's FTR? So I don't know. Something feels weird here. And I'll be honest, the timing kind of felt off in the segment. There was a good, 15, 20 seconds where Mox and Marina were just standing in the corner waiting for everything to happen. I don't know what incapacitated Mox so much before he left. But, yeah. This didn't super do it for me. I feel really just bad for Willow. This is 2 weeks in a row that she gets just absolutely throttled.
Yeah.
And, I'm glad she called out Renee. I'm going to say, I get that it's an awkward position creatively, that Renee is such a big part of the show, that how do you just, ignore the mock stuff, but at the same time, you don't want her to be intrinsically tied to it either.
Yeah.
But it should be acknowledged. You're okay. You seem to be fundamentally okay with your husband trying to murder people. Orange Cassidy is your buddy. Guess what? They tried pouring fucking Drano down his throat. How do you there is a level of this needs to be talked about. So I don't know. This was fine. And I think I'm making a bigger deal of it than it should be. But
yeah, I was saying while you were getting the puppy that I actually don't mind the fact that Switch and Copeland have been able to outsmart the Death Riders a little bit, just because we haven't seen it in the entirety of the Death Riders until last week on Dynamite. So I don't mind it too much. I do agree with you, the 2-on-5 thing can get annoying if you do it too much. There's the puppy. Hello. James, the animal of the week. We're James over here. So I don't really mind them getting the drop, but yeah, it's a little weird that they are winning 2-on-5. I mean, they got their ass whooped on Saturday.
Yeah.
So they're 2-1 in the last 3 weeks, but
yeah,
this wasn't anything super spectacular, but it wasn't anything that offended me either. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And I thought the promos were good, the actual speaking part. But other than that, whatever. After this, we went backstage again to another interview, this time with 4 belts Mercedes Moné. Mercedes comes over and says she wants no surprises, interruptions, or puppets. And Renee promises that there will be none of that, just congratulations. Renee then throws to a taped interview of Momo Watanabe after Grand Slam Australia. For those of you who didn't see, Momo won the International Cup at Wrestle Dynasty back in January. She was up against Willow. Who was there from Ring of Honor? Athena, thank you. And another woman from CMLL, who I do not remember. I apologize. But Momo ended up winning the match, and she gets a shot at any woman in CMLL, AEW, Ring of Honor, or New Japan or Stardom to fight for any of their titles, excuse me. And after Mercedes won her match on Saturday, she got in Momo's face and shoved her with the TVS Championship. So Momo says that she just declares that she's going to face Mercedes for her TVS Championship at Revolution, Mercedes then gets pissed at Renee because it's getting pissed at Renee night for surprising her with something, and then says if Momo wants to actually challenge her, then she has to show up on Dynamite and say it to her face. So expect that coming down the pipeline, and there's your match for Revolution. After this, we headed into our next match, which we talked about a little bit already. Kris Statlander against Megan Bayne. This came about after Bayne used Penelope Ford essentially to attack Statlander after the two had a stare down in between their matches, and was a little surprised this was happening this week. It got announced earlier today.
Crazy.
Yep. But it was still a match we all wanted to see. Big old Hoss fight. So we'll jump to the end here.
Meat.
A lot of meat chants on the card tonight. Although surprisingly not during this match. I feel like it's respectful, guys. You can go for it. Anyway, after Statlander was battling Bayne up on the top rope and was able to knock her off, Stat tried to get up the top and get her footing, but Penelope came running out of the tunnel and shoved Statlander off the top as the referee was checking Bayne. Bayne quickly took advantage of it and hit the still yet to be named F5 to pick up the win. And then after the match, things got weird.
Yeah, it was a little awkward, wasn't it?
Yes, that was the word I used. It was awkward. Penelope began to beat down on Statlander, and Bayne just kind of stood there and watched for the most part.
Yep.
And then Thunder Rosa's music hit, and she came down with a chair. Now, a similar thing that happened to Statlander last week with Penelope and Bayne also happened to Thunder. So, like I said, we're getting this tag match at some point.
Yeah.
So Thunder's down there with the chair, and it led to the most awkward standoff I've ever seen because Bayne refused to back down from Thunder with the chair. And Penelope, kind of got in the way, but neither of them would run off. And Thunder, didn't seem like she wanted to hit them. And when she did swing the one time, she, half-heartedly swung it, and Penelope was able to grab it. And they had, the weakest, pull-apart ever. And, the tug-of-war with the chair. And then eventually the referee, stepped in and, pulled them apart to try to make it make some sort of sense, but it was just so damn awkward.
Yeah, it really was. It felt like somebody either missed a cue, or I don't want to accuse anyone of just getting something wrong, but it could easily Bayne didn't want to look weak
and run.
Or Thunder didn't wasn't supposed to ever swing. But I don't know. So it definitely was a little awkward. I hope it was just, miscommunication. Somebody fucked up by accident and we move on from it. But yeah, that was awkward.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think somebody probably just missed a cue or just forgot what they were supposed to do. Because Bayne was just pacing what? But you'd think Penelope or Thunder would have remembered and then been hey, you're supposed to leave or something. Yeah. So
the ref, that's literally the ref's job.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. But as for the match, James, this was pretty good. As Maria said, this was a great test for Bayne, being one of her first real test here in AEW. I thought she passed her flying colors. She picked up a cheap win, but this is a match people wanted to see.
Yes.
And I do think the cheap win actually lends itself to a rematch. So maybe we do get a rematch at Revolution, which would be nice. But either way, I like this until the end.
I see us getting a tag match more than anything.
At Revolution? I think you get the tag match next week.
Yeah. We probably get the tag match next. I think this is more about Thunder than it is about Statlander.
Really?
So I think Bayne versus Thunder could be the Revolution match. And I got to agree with Maria very much here. What, you don't want that?
No, I want Stat versus Bayne at Revolution so they can get 20 minutes.
Very fair. I do got to agree with Maria here. Stat was the perfect test for Megan Bayne. Beyond similar body types, beyond similar match styles, wrestling styles, Stat is a very loved character, a very loved person on the roster. And I got to tell you, there were a lot of Megasys chants.
Yep.
A lot of Megasys chants. So I think they're seeing, AEW is seeing, they have something here with her. She more than kept up. She more than, this dog is going crazy. She
got
more
the zoomies.
Yeah, she's just going nuts. She more than kept up. She more than looked like she belonged, and the crowd was there for it. So it's a shame that the awkwardness of the ending, it might be what people talk about. The match was very good.
Yeah,
the match was very good. A lot needs to be given to Statlander, who had to help guide her through this matchup. Not because Bayne is some rookie, but because she is the more experienced TV wrestler. So you hear the puppy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
So yeah, great matchup. I am super happy Megan Bayne won. It's the only match that I wish Danny was here always, but I wish Danny was here to talk about this match specifically. And good showing. Really looking forward to the future.
It's just happy Bayne won.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we're big fans of both of these women, both Stat and Bayne here at the pod. So
we love Stat, but sometimes you need to establish the new star.
Yeah, and I thought this was a great job of doing it because Bayne looked great against her, and she did get the win, and that's what's going to be, in the history books, as MJF would say. It doesn't matter how, but you also, I thought, protected Stat in a very smart way. So
yes, and beyond that too, to go off earlier in the night when you have
oh God. Constant animal chaos here at the Market Down podcast. Somebody's dog or cat or something is always getting into it. And honestly, it is one of the small reasons I am happy I don't have pets, or I'm not allowed to have pets here in my apartment. So I was just saying there's always animal chaos here at the pod.
Yeah. The cat has jumped up on my chair. The dog is running wild on the bed. It's just it's chaos right now. Yeah. Tony mentioning Statlander as a contender for her title and having Bayne beat her goes back to what it said. It makes Bayne a contender for the titles at some point.
Yep.
So bravo, great story thread throughout the night.
Yeah. You're also saying getting Penelope on TV is also a plus, and I would agree with that. I'm a big fan of hers. I'm so glad she was able to come back. She's been doing a pretty good job since she's
got a win.
She needs a couple of more. She needs a big time win. She's been getting, I think, some smaller wins, but yeah, she needs a big time win. We'll see where this partnership goes between her and Bayne, if it goes anything past what we presume is a tag match coming up. But no, I'm happy she was on TV too. So yeah, I think this was a match that accomplished what it needed to. I was very impressed with the early stuff from Statlander and the commentary noticing, and it's just one last thing I want to get in on this, where Statlander was using more of her speed and agility instead of going power for power, which I know everybody wanted to see that, and you got it later in the match. But I liked Statlander, being more of a cagey vet and going with something Bayne might not expect to start the match. So I thought that was cool. So good storytelling, both in terms of what was going on in the ring and in terms of building Bayne up as this new powerhouse that we're going to see in the women's division.
Yep.
All right. After this, we went backstage for another interview, this time with Max Caster, who was actually nice to Renee. So it was a nice change of pace. Renee asked him about being 0-2 in his open challenges, but Caster says it's been unfair since he's got wrestlers like Hangman attacking him before the bell instead of those who want to look him in the eye and shake his hand. He then declares the open challenge will continue on Saturday, and he hopes that whatever wrestler comes into the ring, looks him in the eye, shakes his hand, and goes one-on-one with the best wrestler alive. We then went back into the ring, this time for a promo from Ricochet. He comes out, obviously, wearing the embassy robe, and he starts off by running down the crowd in Phoenix, Arizona. He even made a joke about KD wanting to leave, despite the fact KD didn't want to leave. He literally said that today. He just didn't. He literally was like, I don't want to be traded in the middle of the season. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
It's about heat, brother. It's about heat.
Yeah, it was incorrect heat. Anyway, Ricochet then decides to address the people at home directly instead of addressing the crowd, since he says they were behaving like animals. He says that these people continue to boo him, but booing the winner is like booing into nothingness, and he is in fact a winner. He's actually won against most of your famous, listing off guys like Swerve, Ospreay, and Commander, and there was others, but that was just the third name I could remember. And winners also have something to show for the fact that they are winners, and he brandishes his robe. But Ricochet didn't come to AEW to win said robe. He came to win gold, declaring that he will win some in 2025 because he's too good looking not to. He actually says he wants to win gold, and he's like, I am going to win gold because I'm too good looking not to be a champion. Swerve music then hits, but instead of Swerve coming out, it is Prince Nana who comes out alone, and he is clearly in a bad mood, even tossing his coffee cup before coming into the ring with the microphone. Nana says he wanted to talk to Ricochet one-on-one, so he asked Swerve to stay home this evening, and goes on to say that he knows that there's been a lot of beef between them, and he doesn't know where it's going to end up going. What he does know is that Ricochet is wearing something that doesn't belong to him. Nana says he has been in the industry for 3 decades making history, and there's a lot of history in that robe, and anyone who wears it has honor and the opportunity to be great, but Nana says he never gave Ricochet that opportunity. Nana then says if Ricochet is the winner that he wants to be, he should give the robe back. Ricochet tells him to take it, but when Nana doesn't step up, Ricochet says Nana is never getting the robe back for doing a stupid laugh in Nana's face and leaving. So, James, I like this. It was a good promo from Ricochet. Let me tell you, this character, just something about it has helped up his promo game. I don't know why or how, but it really, really has. And then I'm glad that they've given a lot more weight to this robe. Like, I know it's a bit of a MacGuffin here. As you know, again, saying that Ricochet becoming a top heel is hard to believe, but true. And it is, because I think it's for reasons like this, because this character just lends him, for whatever reason, to be able to do a good promo.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's almost like when you let someone have an opportunity to grow, they will.
Yeah, or create their own character instead of pigeonholing him into smiley, jumpy Ricochet.
Yeah.
But I like I said, James, I think it's good that they're putting something into this robe, like something meaningful. Because, like I said, even though it is just a bit of a MacGuffin, like, I think one of your complaints when Swerve came out in it and Ricochet stole it was that it didn't mean anything.
It's not that it didn't mean anything. It's they did a bad job, an objectively bad job at highlighting that over time. Like, if you're a hardcore fan, you know that he was gifted that by a wrestler who's passed away. If you're a hardcore fan, you know all the people who have been associated with it, and that's great.
Yeah, something Nana brought up.
Yeah, I like to consider myself a hardcore fan, but I also don't put stock in it myself. And that's because it just hasn't been a thing. Not at least narratively on television.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that they're doing it now. I love this back and forth. I love this interaction. Nana came to him as a man. He came to him one-on-one. He could have had Swerve do his dirty work for him. He didn't. He went to Ricochet and asked him straight up, man to man, give me that back, please. And Ricochet said no. Ricochet threatened him. He did. Like, he unofficially threatened him.
Yeah, he said take it. He wanted Nana to get physical, and Nana knows he's not going to win that fight.
So this gives credence truly to Swerve coming back. Because if Swerve just had the match with him, you could argue that, like, if Swerve just got a rematch with him, you could argue that it's just sour grapes on Swerve's part. But he is openly being antagonized by Ricochet. He is openly defending Nana. So I think this deepens the feud in such a great personal way. And I thought this segment did a lot. And I am genuinely, like, we have him in our intro. I am really a big fan of Nana. And it's great when they let him do things beyond just dance. And don't get me wrong, it's fun. It is fun. It helped Swerve get hella over. But it is cool to see him actually be involved.
Yeah, and be his own character besides just Swerve's sidekick.
Yeah.
Like Nana said, like, he has a lot of history in this industry, and I imagine you know most of it. But he is more than just the dance and his coffee cup. He is a guy who has won titles. He is a guy who has helped manage people to other titles, including Swerve most recently. And him being out there and going to be able to be his own character was really good. It was, as Maria said, very emotional. Like Ricochet even called Nana out for being a little emotional.
Yep.
And then before telling him he's not going to get the robe back. So I thought this was a great job to just make Nana a deeper character. I could easily see him not dancing out next time Swerve faces Ricochet. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Nana get even a little involved in their next match, because I have to imagine it's going to escalate in terms of stipulations.
And it's great too, because he did confront Swerve about Swerve making these feuds more personal than they need to be. He told Swerve, we should just be focusing on the world title. And now there's a reason for him to get personal.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
And that actually adds another layer to this, because Nana asked Swerve to stay home so he could talk to Ricochet man to man. Had he succeeded, it would have allowed Swerve to move on and focus on the AEW World Championship. But instead, he was unable to do so, and now he's probably going to let Swerve off the leash. Johnny says that I'm just waiting to see this piss hole of a company go out of business. Good luck with that, bud. They're an absolute heater right now, and they just signed a huge contract with Warner Brothers Discovery, so that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Hey, Johnny, just so you know, whether you're being serious or trolling one way or the other, AEW, in I believe a year's time or 2 years' time, based off financials alone, will be the second most successful wrestling company of all time behind WWE. Half of, or I don't want to say half, a good portion of WWE's main event talent and upcoming NXT talent are coming from AEW. You have, if you like Cody Rhodes, if you like CM Punk, if you like Penta, if you like Ricky Saints, if you like Lexis King, if you like Ethan Page, if you like any of these guys, thank AEW. You should.
At least Cody in his current form. And I guess, and Punk coming back. I mean, those are two guys who, I don't want to say Punk was originally a WWE guy, but, he was there for a very long time. Cody came up with WWE, but one came back to wrestling in AEW, and the other one completely reinvented himself first in New Japan in Ring of Honor, and then in AEW. So Johnny says, I'm being serious. They let me down so many times. They have not been good since 2022. I used to be a huge AEW guy. And, dude, I'm telling you right now, come back now. They have been on an absolute heater the last few weeks. The wrestling is still always what it was. It's still great. But the storytelling has been far better. A lot of those original AEW guys that you loved are back, like Kenny. He's back.
Kenny's at the top of his game again. Yep. Hangman's at the top of his game right now.
And feuding with MJF.
MJF is finding that fire again. Jay White is killing it. Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin killing it. Will Ospreay, one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now. Ricochet, a guy we just spent time talking about, who was a nothing in WWE, has become one of the most interesting characters in professional wrestling today. If you like women's wrestling, you have Timeless Toni Storm, you have Mercedes Moné, you have a deep roster. So I do feel for you. I do feel for it, because everyone has the right to fall out of love, and I'm not even going to argue that AEW hasn't given you reasons to fall out of love at certain points.
There was definitely a dip.
There was a little bit of a dip, but I'm telling you, as Rev just so well put it, they are in a high method of delivery right now. Across the board, they are just killing it. So if you are looking to come back and you're not just waiting for the company to go out of business, now's the time. Come back. Enjoy the show. Check it out.
And Maria, I think, brings up a good point. AEW is going to thrive regardless. As long as Tony kind of wants to put money into it, that's going to be true. And it creates for, I think, James, because you mentioned all the back and forth between people going from AEW to WWE and vice versa. It just helps the wrestling business in general. Rising tide lifts all ships. So,
yep. 1,000%.
Yeah, so I don't, even if you don't like AEW, I don't think you should root for them to go out of business for that exact reason.
Very well put.
All right, let's hit the main event here as we saw Orange Cassidy face off against Roderick Strong, what they're calling the Revolution International Championship Series. So the two of these guys were fighting for the chance to face Konosuke Takeshita for the AEW International Championship next week on Dynamite. The winner of that, I think, would then go on to face Kenny Omega at Revolution. So we had JR actually out to call the match for the main event. I don't know, does he live in Phoenix? Like, why was he there?
I mean, it's not that far from Oklahoma.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's a pretty quick flight.
I mean, well, yeah, flying wise, I just didn't know how much he wanted to fly.
Yeah.
I was like, if he lives in, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a house in Phoenix. A lot. If you retire, you go to one of two places. You go to Florida or you go to Phoenix.
Yeah.
Or Scottsdale.
I say this as someone who enjoyed my time in Arizona. It definitely feels like the type of place you go to die.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hot, but it's dry heat.
It is a dry heat. And you know who lives in Arizona and was backstage tonight?
Oh, one Brian Daniels. He lives in Arizona, really?
Yeah, he, Bree, and the kids all live there.
Very cool. Anyway, yeah, so good old JR was there. And we also had Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, obviously, accompany Roderick Strong out, and we're at ringside, which led to a really fun spot earlier in the match where Orange rolled out of the ring and hugs Kyle, who hugged him back enthusiastically. Mm-hmm. And then there was a tense stare-off between Orange and Cole, and then Orange went back into the ring. There was a little more of the match. And then Roddy rolled out of the ring and hugged both men. And then Orange hit him with a tope suicida, threw him back in the ring, and then was going to hop back in, and then decided to hug Kyle again because Orange just shrugged at him. And Kyle's like, I guess he's got to do what he's got to do. And then Orange is like, come here. So that was really funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, later in the match, after Roddy kicked out of a beach break, Orange set up for an orange punch, but he ended up taking too long. Not allowed Roddy to come over and hit him with a rising knee strike in the corner. Strong then hit two backbreakers and an end of heartache, but Orange kicked out. There was a little more back and forth, and that eventually led to Roddy hitting a pop-up gut buster, which was pretty cool, and followed that up with a sick kick. But when he went for end of heartache again, Orange countered with the Stun Dog Millionaire. Cassidy then followed up with the orange punch and was able to pick up the win and gets the shot at Konosuke Takeshita. After the match, Tony Schiavone decided to make his first appearance of the episode.
Right? Why did I love Riccaboni? I do. Why did they bring Riccaboni for this? Like, if you have JR and Schiavone on call, why would they? Like, he doesn't like working Wednesdays. It's like his thing. Like,
Schiavone?
No, Riccaboni.
Oh, yeah.
He's on a strict schedule, like, I think because of his, like, home life, his family life. Maybe he lives in Arizona, so it was easy. But just so bizarre.
Yeah, it was funny. Like, Riccaboni was doing color the entire night, and then Schiavone just out of nowhere popped up to do this interview. And, like, you easily could have sent Ian down from the desk, considering there was 4 people there. Yeah. Oh, maybe Schiavone lives in Scott. No, Schiavone lives in Florida. So, also, no, JR lives in fucking Jacksonville, I'm pretty sure.
I have no clue. I get Schiavone being there because he's one half of the commentary team for Collision, right?
Yeah, so maybe they taped a little Collision tonight.
And even if they didn't, I get that they're probably in Arizona for Collision, or in the area for Collision, so he's with them. But just interesting. It shouldn't be this big a deal that we're talking about it, but it's interesting.
It was just really funny that he just appeared out of the ether at the end of the show. Yeah. Either way, he comes down to the ring to ask Orange about now going up to face Takeshita for the title, saying that should Orange win, he would probably become the greatest international champion of all time. But before Orange can answer, that carny piece of shit Don Callis comes out with Mark Davis and Takeshita. Callis says that Orange may begin to call himself the greatest international champ of all time, but to Callis, Orange is a redheaded hippie and a loudmouth piece of garbage, and then he sicks Davis and Takeshita on Orange. They beat Orange down until Kenny Omega comes out to try to make the save, and Kenny initially gets his ass kicked, but when they turn their attention back to Orange, Orange is able to toss Davis out of the ring. Takeshita then goes for Raging Fire, but Orange counters that with a Stun Dog Billionaire, and then Kenny hits a V trigger, and that drives Takeshita out of the ring as well. Kenny then picks up Takeshita's international title belt and raises it in his face, but when Kenny turns around, he sees Orange staring at the title, and then the three men have a bit of a stare down as we go off the air. And the last shot we actually see is Kenny draping the international title over the ropes as he stands off at the side of the ring. So, James, I like this match. This kind of just felt like an old school AEW, two good wrestlers go against each other type of match. But there was stakes involved. This was for a number one contendership to the international championship. I think it just felt almost felt like a little bit of like an old school Ring of Honor match too, just because it was two good guys and Roderick was there. But I liked what they did here. It was, two former international champions trying to get another shot at the title. I kind of knew Orange was going to win it, but that's fine. And I think what I'm more curious to see is how this plays out over the next couple of weeks, because Orange is supposed to get this one-on-one match, and I think that's plausible. I think it's plausible. Well, I think he will get it, but I also think it's plausible that there's some funny business that could lead to a triple threat match or a three-way match, as we talked about before, at Revolution, which maybe just to protect Takeshita and have Kenny pin Orange for the win. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we get that one-on-one, but I think it's plausible that we do get it.
The only reason I could see, and it's fucked up because I feel for Orange, the only reason I could see we get that triple threat is if they don't want Kenny to win the title and they have Orange be the fall guy, which is dirty because you didn't need to bring him back for this. I
do think if it's a three-way, Orange is the fall guy, no matter who wins. But
that's a bummer. He shouldn't be. He's Orange Cassidy. This guy was challenging for the world title a few months ago. He should not just be this is the fall guy in a multi-man match. That's rough.
Yeah. We also, if I may, this is Orange's first match. It's the first time we've seen him, I think, since that match.
Since the Fatal 4-Way, this is his first match.
It's just a 4-way match.
Damn it.
We went over this.
Seriously. Which just makes it more bizarre that they brought him in for this. Now, granted, look, they teased a little while ago Orange and the Callis family being a thing. And obviously that didn't go the way it did. Trent got hurt. They didn't really bring it, take it all the way. But I don't know, man. As somebody who very much wants Omega to either take the world title off Moxley or have his match against Okada for the Continental Championship, it feels weird for me to say I don't need Omega to win this international title. And that's mostly because I want Omega, Omega needs to finally get the win over Takeshita. Granted, he did in the tag match, but Takeshita had 2 wins in a row over Omega in less than a week.
And again, Takeshita got hit with the super finisher to end all super finishers.
Exactly. So Omega really needs a win over Takeshita. So I don't know where they go with this. I saw someone say online, and I'm not opposed to it, that they unify the international title and the continental title, and it just becomes the intercontinental title.
I was gonna make that joke, and then you made it serious. You said it seriously.
Sorry. Yeah, but somebody I've been seeing people say that online, and in the world, in the argument that is consistent in the world of wrestling about companies having too many titles, maybe that is the way to go. I don't know. So
I think I saw SRS tweet out the other day that across the major companies around the world, there's 52.
50, I thought it was 54 to 57. I don't remember.
Maybe it was 52 or 57. So maybe it was 57. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Because of these new ID titles that WWE has introduced.
Ridiculous, by the way. Ridiculous. But it's okay, guys. Triple H can't do anything wrong.
Except book the women's division, apparently.
And nope, we're good boys. I don't know. Maybe they do. Hey, if you want to have Kenny Omega be the belt collector again and win all the singles titles in AEW, I'm okay with that.
Of course you are.
We all should be. We all should be. We have the best wrestler in the world, Kenny Omega, on your roster, operating at full strength, it seems. Have him win everything.
All right. Well, that aside, I'm a little back and forth on whether or not I want Kenny to win the international championship, because I think Takeshita is doing a great job going around the world defending that title. He defended it recently at one of the most recent New Japan events. He's under contract with DDT still, so I imagine he would defend it there. CMLL just announced, like shortly after Dynamite ended, I guess their show ended around the same time. They announced that Takeshita is coming soon to that promotion. So this guy's been everywhere, man. And I think he's such a great ambassador who's willing to travel around the world and defend the title, that I know Kenny will go back to New Japan and defend it on occasion, but Takeshita going to all of these different companies feels like such a boon for me that I'm a little leery about having him win the title. You know, I just think it's good for the company. So I'm really going back and forth on it. It could, like I said, if they end up doing this triple threat, which I don't know if they will, I think it could allow for Takeshita to retain without him beating Kenny, which would suck. Or you have Kenny put Takeshita over again, and Takeshita's just got his number. I know Kenny's also a big proponent of Takeshita.
Yeah,
part of the reason why he's in the company in the first place. So I could maybe see Kenny putting the kid over again. I don't know. I think there's a lot here.
Orange can take the pin. Let it be a triple threat.
I think there's a lot here and a lot to chew on, which is why I'm very intrigued by this ending. And it's cool. Now, again, a lot of that could go up in smoke in terms of Orange if he just loses next week. So
wait a minute. I thought Orange qualified for the match tonight.
No, Orange gets a match with Takeshita next week for the title. Winner of that faces Kenny at Revolution.
Oh!
I'm just saying, if there's shenanigans, maybe we get a triple threat. Maybe.
I'm being 1,000% honest with you. This is on me. I thought this match set up a number one. Okay, this changes my perception of the night so much. I thought that this matchup tonight was to set up a number one contenders match at Revolution between Orange and Kenny.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, wow, we're really dragging this out a little bit, aren't we?
Kenny has his title shot. It just depends on who's going to have the title. And that'll be determined next week. But I was just saying, if there are shenanigans, with our shenanigans are fun shenanigans.
Hey, Rev, what's that restaurant with all the fun stuff on the wall that you like going to?
All the funny shit on the wall and mozzarella sticks? You mean shenanigans?
I'm so happy. Hello, David.
I don't know. Hi, David. I think it's the first time you ever commented on a fucking thing here. Anyway, I think, like I was saying, Jim, I think it's possible that maybe something happens involving the Don Callis family that costs Orange, or maybe it just ends up being a DQ, whatever it is, and he somehow gets his way into the match at Revolution. I don't think it's going to happen. I just think it's a plausible option. But maybe that's just WWE brain.
It's going to happen. Someone's going to say it.
So the next person to say shenanigans is going to get pistol whipped.
Someone's going to say it.
I think the only thing here, like last comment on this, and it just kind of goes back to what it was saying about Cole being the only heel there. I'm assuming he means during the match. I
thought he was talking about Colt Cabana. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good point. 1 boom for Adam Cole, 2 for Colt Cabana. But I did find the thing with Kyle and Orange and then Kyle and Cole interesting, because I can see Cole maybe resenting the fact that Kyle has other friends a little bit.
Yeah. And
maybe that leads to some strife within the Undisputed Kingdom in the near future.
Which I don't care about. I don't care.
Yeah. It's put that into something to ponder file, to borrow a phrase. You don't have to talk about it now. Just put it away for later. It's just simmering underneath. It's all the way on the back burner, like on the way back. Just keep an eye on it. But that was Dynamite. And James, I know you were very, very high on this episode.
Yes.
I think I'm a little less high on it than you were, but I still thought it was very good. Like I said, I think we're on an absolute heater in AEW right now. Maybe I'm just coming off the high of Saturday, and this clearly wasn't going to reach that. But I thought for a show following up on a major show like that, I thought this was a very good episode. And I also thought it was a very consistent episode, which I thought was a very important thing that came across tonight.
We've been second boom was an echo. That was good. We've talked about it the last few weeks that AEW has been in a position that their Dynamites have been consistently stacked. That they have all of their top talent on the show, and it feels like you're getting a big star after a big star after a big star on TV. So I think this continued that trend. I think we had an incredible start of the show, almost too incredible, because despite how good everything else was, nothing quite reached those heights.
Yeah.
But again, the women were very well represented tonight. I enjoyed the main event, and I enjoyed the shenanigans after.
Got him.
Damn it. It was genuine too. It wasn't on purpose.
Oh,
oh damn it. I enjoyed everything that happened after the main event. And I got really nervous because I saw a comment pop up and I thought David was gonna hit me. You know, it might have beaten me to the word, by the way.
No, it was definitely after.
I said it first. He thought Cole was going to pull some stuff. I think he said it so I would read it.
Yeah, maybe.
Dirty pool there, you know it. But I thought this was a great show. I am so invested right now in AEW because they're just delivering. They're just absolutely killing it. So I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy as a fan. And if I'm not to get off topic, but I'm happy with most of wrestling right now. Oh, this poor puppy is just begging to come in. Across the board, I think all the companies are killing it. And I think Dynamite, I always say TNA is the most consistent company of them all. I think AEW is challenging them for that title right now. I think I got to go get the dog. But you get my point.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Over the last month or so, I think I said 5 weeks earlier, they have just been consistent. The return of their top tier talent has made for a very stacked card. And I think it was a testament to the fact that coming off a show that was just in Australia, I didn't think a lot of that talent would be here tonight. And we ended up getting a lot more of it than I expected. Kenny was there. Tony was there. Tony Storm, that is, and Shivani, I guess, too. But you look at a show where, hello, puppy, you didn't have Will Ospreay on the show. You didn't have Swerve on the show. And you still got not only a very, very good episode, but of just a very consistent episode throughout the show where you just almost always had a good segment after good segment after good segment that I was very impressed with this evening. And I think it's just a testament to how deep this roster is, because this was maybe a show you would expect talent-wise from like a year ago, just because, James, I was mentioning the fact that I was surprised that they had so much of their top talent at the show tonight, despite the fact they were coming back from Australia.
Yeah, no, I was too.
They had more than I thought.
I think the only people we didn't see were the Australians themselves. Like, no Harley, no Fletcher, no Buddy, who we know is a little hurt, it seems, unfortunately.
He's also on his honeymoon.
Yeah. And Ospreay, who is probably close to home. You know?
Yeah, well, he might have stayed with Fletcher's family. I don't know if Davis made the trip because he's Aussie and he was there tonight. But you had Kenny was there, Takeshita was there, Timeless Tony Storm was there tonight. We didn't have Ospreay, and we also didn't have Swerve.
Yeah, no Swerve. Was he at Grand Slam?
No, he wasn't. But he just wasn't on the show for whatever reason. But my point was, we didn't have some of this top talent because they were in Australia, that's a long flight. And I thought we were going to have even less.
Yeah.
And even then, I was still expecting this card to be very good, and it was. So I just think that's a testament to how deep this roster is and just how well that they're booking the show right now. Yep, JR was there. He wasn't in Australia, but he managed to trudge on over to Phoenix. So good for him. I was very happy to.
Phoenix is, I think, geographically close, as close as you're going to get to Australia in the United States, maybe.
You know what? I would have to double check to see if a flight from like the tip of Alaska would be quicker.
No, I don't mean like.
For the continental United States.
I don't mean.
Heat wise.
Yeah, like environmentally.
Yeah, Death Valley.
Yeah.
David saying, scariest statement of the night. I thought this was a really great night for the AEW women's division. Triple H is in shambles. After that recent report that apparently the some of the women are upset about his booking.
Yeah,
maybe
going into Mania. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, no, I was very happy with this episode. AEW again, just firing on all cylinders, and so hopefully they can keep up this momentum as they head into Revolution.
Yep.
And on that note, I would like to thank everybody so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. We appreciate it if you like the episode and subscribe. If you like the episode, it lets us know that you're enjoying what we're doing here on the show, especially the puppies. We're gonna have to get more of them and continue to show them off. And if you subscribe, you continue to get all of our great content here on the channel. James will be back here within the next either tomorrow night or Friday morning for the Gym Pack Zone for you TNA fans. We're trying out some new time slots with that, so we'll see if it works. But either way, just keep an eye out for it. If you subscribe, you'll get it. Not a problem. Occasionally, we cover Monday Night Raw, and obviously, we are back here every Wednesday for Dynamite. And then we will obviously, of course, be covering when is Elimination Chamber?
It's got sometime this month, right? No, maybe not. I don't know.
It's got to be in the next couple of weeks. They already announced everybody who's in it.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably March because what is it? The Rumble was the 2nd of February. I don't think they'd run 2 pay-per-views a month.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. But then it's March 1st. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's the week before Revolution. Yeah, so we'll be here for that, and then we'll be here for Revolution as well. So be sure to subscribe to get all that. If you'd like to check us out on social media and you're here on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Blue Sky, all in the description below. If you're watching us over on Twitter or on Facebook and you want to check out some of those other places, Twitter is at marketdown_pod. Instagram is at marketdownpod. YouTube.com/marketdown3665. And Blue Sky is marketdownpod. Is it marketdownpod? Yeah, it's probably marketdownpod. .bsky.social, and you can just search Marketdown Podcast on the thing and it'll come up because we're the only people called that on that site. James, you got anything before we get out of here?
Nope. Great to cover a great episode of Dynamite. I'll see you guys for Gym Pact, and yeah, have a good night.
Yeah, no, really happy with what Dynamite's doing. The last few weeks has been great covering it. So for James Asante and what's her name? Leica. Yeah, Leica this video. My name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Markdown Podcast. Have a good one, everyone.